Hey there, Vernacular Faithful. Redcoat here. I'm just popping in after taking a moment to hang out with a few people, and well, really one guy, and look at the innards of an arcade cabinet and kind of get a sense of things there. It was kind of really cool looking at the coin dispensers and how everything was wired up. And it's interesting because it brings to mind something about how things are developing right now. Because back in the 90s, that was the golden age of arcade cabinets and pinball machines and all of those things. But, after the console boom and home entertainment systems came into play, they kind of went the way of the dodo to the point where the pinball manufacturers dwindled down to one. Yet, and this is an interesting thing because the average person doesn't really pay attention to this. Right now there are 10 or so pinball machine manufacturers. And the reason is because collectors saw the value in them. Basically, everyone who was a child during the 90s, they're an adult now. They have money. Well, okay, those of them that weren't, completely adversely affected by the recession and COVID and this and that and all the other things. But the ones who did well had money to spare and wanted to collect those old things. And moreover, people started modding them and making really cool addendums to them. And there's some really interesting builds out there, like a Stranger Things thing, where it's not just pre-made bits, they actually project light onto elements of it, so it's variable as it goes along. And then they've got, I think it's like blue, they've got a particular type of ink they use on it that when you shine the blue light on it, it changes to simulate the upside down, and then the actual top part opens up, and you get to see I think it's the Demogorgon, and you try and throw a pinball into it. It's crazy, but I digress. The thing is, there's a great fall, but now there's a great demand for the items by people who are super into it. And the same is true of the arcade space. Depending on where you're looking, you can run into people who really want them. And particularly, one thing that's really happening is that we're seeing a resurgence in places that collect them, particularly we would call the barcade. So this is things like the keg and coin. To an extent, well, Mox is more of a board game space, but it's following off of that similar wave, where basically food places, cafes and such, they're not making the bills with just offering food and a place to hang out. The food's just a bit too expensive, but by offering entertainment along with that food, that gives a reason for people to come out, and people will spend money to rent out controllers, particularly for a competitive bar that I frequent actually fairly regularly, the Obscura down in Jacksonville. Like, they'll rent out controllers and they'll have PCs stuck on the walls and run tournaments every night. And some delicious ramen to go along with it. Like, the combination, it makes for a very grand atmosphere. It makes for that elusive third place that has kind of gone the way of the dodo thanks to lockdowns, COVID, and general social unease. But this is an opportunity for people who happen to have a little bit of know-how, how to make things, and people who know how to program things, for them to work together to make some arcade cabinets to place in these bits. Because, like myself, I poked one of the guys over the keg and coin about getting one of my games if I got my game into an arcade cabinet. He'd give me a spot, I'd place it there, and make it a quarter muncher. And the quarter muncher, of course, was the original microtransaction. You know, every individual play, you put in another quarter. Now the thing was that the amount that you got per the amount that you got of, you know, bang for your buck was way different. You know, you could play a full game off of a quarter if you knew what you were doing, which is very different from how things are these days. Anyway, I just wanted to highlight that in a sense, things kind of go in cycles, and the people who were really familiar with the arcade cabinets are now at the age where they can make them. And it's rather exciting. I think there's some things that can come from there. And I know there's a lot of other negative things happening right now, but I wanted to highlight that. As always, as I say, obstacles are opportunities. So with the waning of the arcade cabinets in days of yore, now there's an opportunity to bring them back. And to bring them back in a way that really works well. At any rate, I digress. It's something that you're catering, again, comes back to that other aspect of catering to a niche audience rather than catering to everyone. You build something for the people that want it. The people who will pay for it. And so you find the spots where they gather, and then you make the suggestion of, hey, I got something you want. How much you gonna pay? But, you know, that's the businessman coming out, of course. If I didn't have to pay the bills, I'd probably just, you know, make a thing and hand it out for free, but that's not how it works. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and bring us to the sign-off here, but before I do, I wanted to remind you that I am the representative of Vernacular Games. We've got 2 games available on Steam, particularly the Highway to the Moon, a scrolling shoot-'em-up with omnidirectional combat, omnidirectional shooting, and a road that you've got to stay on. Think Spy Hunter meets Ikaruga meets Smash TV, and a little pinch of Devil May Cry. Just a pinch. And then we've also got Legends of Mathematica Squared Under the Shadow of Certainty, a classical style RPG with puzzle dungeons and an active time battle system. We also have The Fairy and the Dragon, a children's storybook available on BookBaby. That will be the place where you can find it most easily, although you can hunt it down on Amazon and the rest. And we have other products in the works, but right now we're kind of hunkering down and pushing in on getting those things made. So perhaps a little bit later on in the year, I'll be able to show a little bit of our work. But for now, I'm going to take us to the sign-off. So this is Redcoat signing off. Play the games you want to play, boyos.